Hello, everyone. Cherries Red Army. Not much time to enjoy our victory at Bristol City. Quick turnaround back in the Championship on Tuesday. AFC Bournemouth will head to the Bet365 Stadium to take on Stoke City. In this video, we'll have an exciting guest. I'm going to have Ahmed Shooble from The Athletic joining me to help me on this preview. We'll also get a opposition view from a Stoke City fan, and we'll also try and predict that Scott Parker lineup for this game. That is not going to be an easy task. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe as we continue to grow. Also hit the like button at some point in the video. And we want to know what you think ahead of this fixture. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. So we don't mind an away day at Stoke City. We've done okay there in the last few years, haven't we? Let's get on with the preview. Welcome, first time on the channel to Ahmed Shooble from The Athletic. How are you doing?
I'm good, Kirk. Thank you for having me on, man. It's been a long time coming, but thankfully I'm here,
Yeah, and I'm sure you're going to tell me it's been quite an exciting time for you, the start of the season, covering Bournemouth. Tell us a bit about how it's going.
Yeah, so far so good. I don't want to, say that I'm a good luck charm or anything, but now that I've started coming to the stadiums, obviously it's been really good. I just can't really ask for more. I think it hurts even though I don't really have any particular association in terms of supporting a club to Bournemouth. It does feel good, particularly after the heartbreak of last season, to start so well, and long may it continue.
Doing some great work as well. Check out the details for Ahmed. They are in the description. Follow Twitter as well. Let's go on with the preview then. Let's go back. AFC Bournemouth then. We were at Bristol City at the weekend. It was quite an emotional week, wasn't it, with the news that we heard about David Brooks. I was there in the stadium as kickoff came nearer. The passion of the fans kicked in. And do you know what? I was hoping that the players, there was going to be enough incentive there. That we lost top spot as well. They were going to want to really get those 3 points for David Brooks. And I was worried, though, Ahmed, that they were going to try too hard and maybe a mistake might happen. But fortunately, it didn't happen. We dominated the game from start to finish and a comfortable 2-0 win in the end.
Yeah, a really dominant win. I feel like dominant is definitely the key word in that performance. Probably the most dominant performance we've seen of Bournemouth all season, despite only the 2-goal margin. I think it was a 74% possession that Bournemouth had in the end, and that's the third highest recorded possession in a Championship game this season, according to Opta. So it just really goes to signify the amount of dominance that Bournemouth had in that game. Kelly, Kilkenny, Christie, Lowe all played very well. I could go on really with that list. I think it was more to do with the way Bournemouth just refused to let Bristol City get a foothold in the game. The way on the ball players were rotating positions. We saw Billing, Anthony and Zamora getting their little trifecta working, those similar passing positions that they normally work. And just as soon as they lost the ball, which was, as a 74% goes to show, not very often, they would all the Bournemouth bodies would just sort of converge on the ball. It was really weird. Not weird in a good way, of course, but the way they would just sort of like swarm on the player. It was just such a coordinated counter press. And then from that situation, they were then able to like sort of recycle the attack and then go again. It was just completely relentless.
Like you said, there were some really good performances across the whole pitch there. Now, when the lineups were released, I was slightly concerned. We've had quite a consistent lineup before the international break, but Lowe came in. Kilkenny hasn't played for a while. He done nothing wrong. Stacey came in at right back because Smudge has been absolutely fantastic. You talked about recycling the ball there, and Kilkenny was behind that every single time. He was fantastic against Bristol City. Lowe got his first goal, and I know that you've talked highly as well about Jordan Zamora this season. I mean, just talk again about some of those players that are keeping other players out of the team.
Yeah, I mean that's the one thing about I think I have this picture of just visualizing Bournemouth squad depth, and basically it has every sort of a list of 2 or 3 players that can play in each position. And when you have squad depth like that in the Championship, it's always going to be difficult to predict who's going to start where, because you just never know who's performing well in training and who Parker favours. But I guess that's one of the, I guess you can call it a double-edged sword in that regard, that some players are going to feel hard done by, but the ones who are on the pitch, I mean, Kilkenny, I don't think there. I mean, there should be, because this is technically his first real senior season. But as soon as he was named on the team sheet, there wasn't really a doubt in my mind that he wouldn't perform well. He's shown us that at the beginning of the season with the few runouts he got. He's taken to that number 6, and I feel like that position at the deepest position in midfield is one that takes great maturity to play, a lot of discipline and bravery as well, because you're often having to show for the ball when no one else is. And he just kind of bounces off challenges. I think he completed, well, I'm actually right in thinking he completed the most passes against Bristol, 71 in total. And, just for a player who's, in terms of the competition he has in that as well, Lewis Cook is still to come back from injury. As we know, he's working his way back up to fitness. I think he's probably 4th choice, I guess you could say, maybe 3rd choice. But he's still of such a high quality. It just goes to show, the quality and depth that Bournemouth have in their ranks. I wouldn't want to be Scott Parker picking that starting 11, but I mean, it's really good.
Well, I'm going to put you in Scott Parker's shoes later on, because you're going to try and predict the lineup for Stoke City. Just a final touch there on Kilkenny. The difference I think he has with the other 2 potentially that will play in that deeper role is that he has that switch, that long ball switch. I think he has a 60% completion on those long ball accuracies. When you compare that with Lerma and Pearson, they're in the 30s.
And definitely, for sure. I think what another, you touched on it there a little bit, but Kilkenny has that kind of duality to his game where he's tenacious in the similar way that Pearson and Lerma are in terms of winning the ball back and providing the back four with that cover. But when defense needs to be turned into attack, he knows exactly the right amount of touches to take, where to turn, when to turn, who to pass to. And I think in one of the clips you played, I think against Stoke last season at their stadium, Lewis Cook played a similar sort of ball over the top to Solanke. And those kind of like homing device passes are just such like I described it yesterday with Lloyd Kelly's doing a similar sort of thing with I guess alongside Kilkenny, and sort of it's almost like a cheat code to just be able to have that kind of versatility in your build-up. If the team pushes up and congests the midfield, and there's no way of playing short passes into the midfield, you could always go over the top with the likes of Lowe and Solanke and Anthony, who are all very quick and behind. So yeah, definitely Kilkenny has that sort of ball playing side. I mean, it's just amazing how much he has to his game at such a young age, and I just really hope he keeps playing as well as he does to really force his way into Parker's mind.
Can't believe they were talking about potentially sending him out on loan. We'll see what happens in January. Final thought, though, on that game against Bristol City. Scott Parker said it was pretty much a complete performance, one he's been looking for a long time. The only thing he was upset about is we only scored 2 goals. I have no idea how we didn't score more goals. I think Solanke was getting desperate at times because he was trying too hard. Should we be worried that we only scored 2, or on another day, will we be more clinical?
Yeah, that's another part I was going to bring up. I mean, when you're looking at the points pulling up issues, I don't even know if you can really call it an issue, but just the fact that Bournemouth scored 2 as opposed to 3, it's a good mark or a good measure of how good Bournemouth are playing this season. I think obviously it's a difficult one with Solanke as well, because you want him to have that kind of greedy sort of, not greedy, maybe a little bit selfish in some situations of grabbing his goal. He wants to get his goal in the game, and I think he had enough opportunities to get at least one. But I think the third opportunity he had in the second half, where he kind of overran it and was tackled before he managed to get a shot off, it was a bit frustrating to watch. And I do imagine with Parker's just general high standards he has for this team, he never really is satisfied. And speaking with Zamora and Anthony, when I did the interview with them, when I asked them what the first thing they noticed about Scott Parker was, they said it was those high standards. And Anthony actually told me that if we're winning a game 2-0, if we won a game 3-0, he'll always be looking for basically things to improve on. It's never a perfect game, and I feel like It's funny because Bournemouth have had a few 2-1 games as well, and there was a chance in the second half where Naki Wells literally had to get a toe on it to make it 2-1, and that would have probably seen the game follow a similar pattern to all the ones previous. And it's just about turning those 2-0s into 3-0s as opposed to 2-1s, and then having to bring on Metham and then go 5 at the back and all the rest of it. So yeah, I think he is right in that regard, and I think if Bournemouth want to keep a sustainable level of dominance in this league, then they are going to have to kill those games off. I think the only league game won by more than a 2-goal margin was against Barnsley, right?
3-0.
And so I think in that regard, particularly with the amount of chances, I think Bournemouth registered the most shots they've ever registered in the game. I think it was the 5th highest in registered in the Championship game this season as well. So ample chances to score. So getting just 2 probably for Bournemouth's level isn't good enough.
We remain unbeaten. That's 5 clean sheets on the road now, and in the form away table, AFC Bournemouth atop. Let's move on to our opponents, so Stoke City. Now, I fancied Stoke to have a pretty good season. I thought they did okay in the transfer window. They're still doing okay. They're currently 5th, 21 points. They've had 6 wins this season, Ahmed. 5 at home. That tells a good story.
Yeah, they're a very decent team. I watched them against West Brom. They're the only team in the league to beat West Brom this season as well. So that's got to count for something. And they're definitely a very good footballing side. Play a 3-5-2 or a 3-4-1-2 or any variation of that kind of formation. So yeah, they're definitely going to be tough to break down, because I imagine that what I saw against West Brom, that back 3 turns into a back 5 when they're in their defensive shape. And that'll be tricky for Bournemouth to break down. But as you say, they not necessarily one of the most possession-heavy based teams in the league, but they do like to have the ball. And yeah, it'll definitely be it won't be an easy game, or definitely not as easy as it was against Bristol City. I just think losing the game against Sheffield United kind of hampers their momentum a little bit, and probably works in Bournemouth's favour. But still, definitely won't be an easy game for sure.
Let's take a look then at that lineup that they had at the weekend. You said they lost to Sheffield United 2-1. And when you look at the team there, I mean, they got the likes of Joe Allen, lots of experience. Nick Powell is a player they definitely lean on to do good things for them. And then you've got players like James Chester. He's got experience. Remember, he played at centre-back for Aston Villa. I think that might have been in their promotion season, potentially. Suter is someone that I'm sure they highly rate as well. No Sam Surridge, though. He's struggling to get game time. That's a familiar story.
Yeah, from what I heard from the Sam Surridge deal when it was announced in the summer, was that he left Bournemouth in order to get more game time. So I think, in all fairness, I think the way things are going with Bournemouth now, had he stayed, he probably still would have more of a chance of getting into the Stoke team than the Bournemouth team right now. Then again, that said, I don't think Bournemouth would have Jamal Lowe. So yeah, it's a tricky one. But I do think Sam Surridge is a quality player, and I think he'll do well. He got off to a decent start, to be fair, from what I remember with Stoke. Scoring a couple of goals, I think, in his first 2 appearances. But no, just looking at that team, Tommy Smith, if I'm right in saying, has the most assists in that team. So he's quite dominant down that right-hand side. I'd like to see how that faces off against the trifecta we mentioned earlier with Anthony, Zamora, and Billing, and how they managed to keep him quiet on that side. But yeah, looking through some of the names in that team, there are some quality players in there.
They got Francic as well. But Nick Powell is definitely the one that we need to keep quiet. He's the one. Was Nick Powell the goal scorer as well in that West Brom game? I mean, that game should have been 3-0 to Stoke. Should never have finished 1-0. But I think he was the one that got the lob over the goalkeeper in the end. Yeah.
Quality player.
Very, very good player. Tell you what, we'll get an opposition view now then from a Stoke City fan. This is Ben from the YYY Files. How does he feel about this game?
Hey up guys, my name's Ben. I'm from Stoke City podcast, the YYY Files, and Kirk from the Cherries Red Army has asked me to preview our game, Stoke versus Bournemouth, on Tuesday night. Stoke's start of the season has been remarkable, to be fair, from our point of view anyway. We expected to maybe attempt to push for the playoffs, but we normally start a season so poorly that it would be a late push. We started the season really well for a change, and that's great. We picked up so many good results, particularly that one against West Brom, which really sent a statement out to the rest of the league and to ourselves, I feel, actually. And it, that's all down to the manager and the players who've really stepped up in the last couple of months. The only criticism I'd have is that we're not clinical enough, really, and that's why we've not won some of our games. I think the biggest standout of that is the Barnsley game that we had at home. And I think we had something like 3 XG and only scored the 1. And Barnsley scored from a 35-yard free kick, and that was their only chance of the game. We had so many chances to tuck those games away. And they're the sorts of games that you need to win if you're going to be in the top 2. So I'm yet to be convinced otherwise that we can be really, really ruthless. We have been in some games, but not in others. I think actually a culprit of that is the guy we bought off of you, Sam Surridge, who started the season very well. He had 2 goals in 2 games, I think, but then he's missed a lot of good chances. Don't get me wrong, he seems like a great lad and he works hard up front, but I think when it matters, he gets himself into some great positions, and I think he has the highest XG of anyone at our club at the moment, but he's not putting the chances away. And again, if he steps up, I think we really could be contenders this season. But they say you're only as good as our last game, and our game on Saturday was against Sheffield United away, and to be honest, for the first half, we weren't good enough, and we were just walked over. We rode the storm, though. That's credit to our good defence, I think, on the whole, and a bit of good fortune. But we have had a great defence this season. Harry Souttar epitomises that, one of the best centre-backs in the league, in my opinion. So we rode the first half. We stepped it up second half. We scored a good goal, but then we got exposed down our right-hand side twice. Our full-back went wandering, and then our centre-backs went wandering after him. And we lost control of the game and conceded 2 cutbacks, essentially, and that's disappointing from our point of view, particularly against someone who, will be looking to rise the table to our sort of level, really. And that cast me ahead to our game, in which Bournemouth, again, have started the season incredibly well. I think as we speak, you're top of the table, and that's a different story to last season, where it was a stop-start season for you guys, I think. Obviously falling short in the playoffs, which is disappointing for you. But I think it was a case of a little bit of what we had in previous seasons, where there were players at your club that, you weren't sure wanted to be there. They weren't sure they wanted to be there. And the atmosphere can change in the dressing room because of that. I don't know what it's been like behind the scenes for you guys, but it seems like you've had a bit of a clear out. And it's working. You picked up some good additions, some additions that I'm jealous of as a Stoke fan, and it looks like you're going to be well up there this season and get to what you guys want, which is obviously promotion. You're only going to have a couple of seasons of parachute payments, so I think this is a great opportunity to be able to cast yourself back to the Premier League if you guys can maintain your form. But to do that, you're going to have to beat teams like us. And again, we are at home. We've only not won 1 game at home this season, and that was the Barnsley game, where we absolutely destroyed them and absolutely deserved to win the game. So it's going to be a big test for you guys. It's a big test for us as well, again, against top of the league, but last time we played top of the league at home, we beat them. So it's going to be a really interesting game. I think it's going to be an attacking game. And I honestly don't know how it's going to go. I'm going to be bold because I'm a Stoke fan, and it's a Tuesday night under the lights on Sky as well, I believe, at home, and I'm going to go with a 2-1 Stoke victory. I think Nick Powell has been in sensational goal scoring form, and he'll continue that, and I fancy a bit of Mario Vrancic as well. He's been due another goal, I feel, after that great one he took the other week. And yeah, I can see Stoke winning this one, but I wouldn't be surprised, of course, if Bournemouth got the 3 points as well. Again, I think it's a test for both of us of where we're going to be this season, and what quality of team can we beat, what type of team can we beat, because there's lots of different types this season. You've got West Brom's Ishmael, who are all guns blazing. We beat that. Bournemouth are a different beast, and yeah, it'll be a good test for us. Either way, if you go into the Tuesday night game, have a great time. Obviously, don't win. But yeah, best luck for the rest of the season until we play you again. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Ben, for your opposition view there. Stoke City's opposition view. And if you want to check out Ben's details, the information is in the description. Right, Ahmed, we're going to do the predicted lineup now. Scott Parker does not have an easy task on his hands. What I've done is I've put the last lineup, which was against Bristol City. We'll work through the team and we'll see potentially if we change any players out and in. You happy with that?
Yeah, cool.
Okay, so let's start with the goalkeeper. Mark Travers, 5 clean sheets on the road now. That back four was Jordan Samora, Lloyd Kelly, Gary Cahill and Jack Stacey. For me, Ahmed, it's potentially one change, and that's Adam Smith, if he's fit, because at this stage, we don't know because there's no press conference.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I had Stacey staying in mind because I was just going off the latest information. So I was just assuming that Pearson and Smith would not have recovered from their knocks. And if we were to assume that, I'd have Stacey keep his position at right back.
Let's go with that then. Let's keep Jack Stacey. And he was fantastic at Bristol City. A good assist as well. Very much what we've seen from Jack Stacey previously. Let's go into that midfield three then. This is where it's going to get interesting. Now, Kilkenny, he was my man of the match on Saturday. But you know what, Ahmed? He isn't the right man for me in this game. We're talking about a different fixture. I want someone a little bit more tough in there. I want Ben Pearson. And I know that seems harsh, but I think Kilkenny, there's games made for him and potentially games that are made for Pearson. And I think with a bit of grit, I want Pearson in there. Am I going to tempt you to put Pearson in there, or are you keeping Kilkenny?
You are tempting me because I love Pearson, but I think I love Kilkenny a little bit more. I think he has the right requisite of or right amount of grit needed for this game. We spoke about his duality earlier. I think he's got both sides in to a point where he can probably distribute a bit better than Pearson as well, and I think he might need to coming up against that midfield against Stoke. So again, it's a tricky one. If Pearson recovers in time, it's here or there. But I think I might have to go with Kilkenny. What do we do if there's a 50-50 split? What happens?
Well, do you know what? You're the guest. I'm going to leave it to you. But in the comments, if you wanted to put Pearson in there, let us know in the comments. But we're going to keep Kilkenny on this preview. Let's move up the pitch then.
Far too kind. Thank you.
Let's look at the four, because I think this could potentially change. So it was Billing, Christie, Anthony and Lowe wide further up the pitch. Now, potentially Christie could go out and Marcondes could come in. He hasn't had a lot of game time. But Jamal Lowe said, do you know what? I'm taking my chance. I scored a goal and I worked hard. Do they keep their places?
Oh, it's a tricky one. I think it depends on how fit Lerma is. Parker strikes me as the kind of manager that, despite all the quality he has in all these different positions, he likes to have a sort of a main A team, and he doesn't really like to deviate very much from that. And to my knowledge, his A team, or particularly his favored if everyone's fit. I'll say everyone apart from Lewis Cook. If everyone's fit, that midfield three is probably Pearson, Lerma on the right, and Billing on the left. Without Pearson, Kilkenny will stay in the base. But if Lerma is fully fit, I'd imagine he'll probably play where Christie played against Bristol, and Christie will probably move out wide right, which was probably a bit harsh on Jamal Lowe considering he played so well. But I also, not to sort of put a caveat on his performance, I feel like Jamal Lowe performed very well against Bristol City, but I can't see him replicating that level of performance against the side as good as Stoke. Particularly, it's a bit difficult. I think with Lowe against Bristol City, he got a lot of joy behind the opposition left back and centre back in that space in the channel. But because obviously Stoke play three at the back, or sometimes five at the back, it'll be a lot more difficult to find those gaps, and I don't think he'll profit as much. So I guess the guile of Christie on that side, we know he can pull assists out from nowhere. I think he's going to be much more useful than Lowe against Stoke.
I can't even believe I didn't think of Lerma. I mean, he's one of my favourite players, and it's just madness that I'm glad you're here, Ahmed, because didn't even mention him. I'm going to take a hit for that. I'm sure of that in the comments. Yeah.
Big Jeff.
I'm allowed one every now and again, but I agree with you. Kilkenny, Billing, Lerma, Christie, Anthony. I'm with you 100%. Sorry, Emmy. Right. Dom Solanke, does he keep his space?
I think he has to, even though, he did probably dally on the ball. He was a bit too greedy in the last game. I think you got to give it to him. He's a striker coming into his own. And I think there was also an opportunity in the first half where he followed one of he followed one of Bristol City's defenders as they went to pass back to the keeper and nearly latched onto the ball. And I feel like that's a very small insight into the kind of striker he's turning into. Because under Parker, before playing under Parker, I don't think he would have been chasing down lost causes like that. And I feel like a striker of his quality, that'll easily get him 4, maybe 5 goals across the 46-game campaign. So for me, all that to say, I think Solanke definitely starts, and I think he's early warming up for the season. I predict him to score in this one as well. We'll get onto that later, though.
Excellent. That is locked in. Our predicted lineup for Stoke City. Agree? Disagree? Let us know in the comments. And who would you change if you do disagree? Thank you, Ahmed. We've done that predicted lineup. Scott Parker's got to do it for real, though. Okay, then. So it's going to be an interesting game. I do want to get a score prediction out with you, Ahmed, and maybe a goal scorer as well. But Stoke City, we have said they've had good results, especially at home. Reading, I think they beat as well. We talked about the West Brom. Bournemouth haven't lost yet. Some say you got to lose at some point. I mean, I would take a draw all day long. I mean, how are you feeling about this game?
I want to say confident because that's just I'd kind of be silly not to. But there's also a stat that I wanted to say. Since 2000, no other second-tier manager had got off to a longer unbeaten start at a new club than Jean Tigana at Fulham, and that was 12 games. And Parker actually equaled that against Bristol. So I guess a win or a draw against Stoke on Tuesday would break that record. But that's early since 2000, by the way. And so, yeah, that'd actually be a pretty impressive. I think that obviously his start has been impressive, but it would put it into a whole new category. But I think to answer the question, I am confident. I'm probably going to go 3-1 Bournemouth.
That's a famous...
Sorry, go on.
That's a famous 3-1, by the way. We like that on Cherries Red Army, a 3-1 score.
Yeah, I think it'll probably look like it's going to turn into those 2-1 affairs, and then Bournemouth will counter on the break when Stoke are looking for one and put it to bed, hopefully late on, with Dom Solanke getting the third.
Love it. I want your score over mine. I'm going for 1-1. Take a point, and then we head to Huddersfield back at home. Was that an exclusive stat for Cherries Red Army, by the way, that you gave us about the John Tigana? Was that an exclusive?
Hey, listen, if you want to take it, man, you can take it. A giving man. I'll give you all the stats you want, man.
Brilliant. It's been great to have you on this preview. I'm hoping to have you on plenty more shows throughout the season. I know you're very, very busy. At the game, covering the game?
I'll be covering the game, but I won't be there, unfortunately. I'll see you at Huddersfield and Reading.
But thank you for coming on this match preview. Really appreciate it.
No worries, man. Anytime. It's been a pleasure.
And as I said, make sure you check out Ahmed's details in the description and on Twitter as well. So what have we got coming up then for this game? I won't be at Stoke, unfortunately, but what I will be doing is a watch along. So you can join me for a watch along on YouTube. We'll be live from 7:15 p.m. We'll go through the game. You can watch just myself on YouTube, or you can have me in the background because this game is also on Sky Sports. But yeah, we'll be going for a watch along. I'll let you know how I feel as the game goes. And hopefully it's a little bit better than the other two we've had. We got the 2-0 against Birmingham, but it was late on, wasn't it? And then the other one was Peterborough. So it was nothing to write home about. Also, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel. This has been a great preview. We hope Bournemouth can keep the unbeaten run going. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you to Ahmed. Thank you to Ben from the YYY Files. Until the next video, we'll see you soon. Up the cherries.